Happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday, October 22nd. It is actually my dog Rudy's birthday today, and he is 3 years old. And if he wasn't sound asleep at my feet, I would show him to you, but yeah, he's asleep. We'll leave him there. We'll literally let sleeping dogs lie. Hi, you guys. Hi, Emily from Detroit. Hi, Allie, Coeur d'Alene. I love it. I'm going to get up there one of these days. I really am. Hi from Jackson, Tennessee. Hi, Renee. So good to see you guys. It is a full week. Hi, Kathy from Ohio. Oh, Faith and Family Film, Faith and Family Film episode. I did part 1 and a part 2 on their podcast, and I need to post that link. You guys, I'm so sorry. I've needed to post that on my socials, so I will do that. Faith and Family podcast. I don't know if Diego's lurking in the shadows. Diego, I don't know if you can look up the Faith and Family Film podcast info and maybe post it. But yeah, I did an interview with them. How lovely are they? It was great. I had a really good conversation, really enjoyed that a lot. So thank you, Kathy. I'm glad you were able to see that. And I will post that info. Faith and Family Filmmakers. Thank you. Hi, Don. How are you? Howdy. There we go. There's the link to see my episode or hear my episode, listen in on it. It was a very fun conversation. So I encourage you guys to check that out and go give it a listen. I might have a story in there too about, some of the adventures. There you go. Faith and Family Film, Beverly Holloway. Just Google us, right? 20 years ago, if someone just Google it. There used to be Ask Jeeves, which was sort of the first version of that. But you guys are probably too young to know about Ask Jeeves. Okay, let's see. Sylvia Hedges, Dallas, Texas. Good to see you. Lane Love, what a great name. Woodstock, Georgia. I love Woodstock. It's beautiful. Jan Bush, hi from Alabama. And Sadia Howdy from Harwington, Connecticut. I love it. Hi, Jenny. So good to see you. Yeah, Kathy, I agree with you. It is a great podcast. You guys, they have all kinds of guests, and they talk about all areas of filmmaking, not just casting or acting, but also screenwriting and directing and DP, all of it. So yeah, they cover a lot of topics that I think are very, very interesting and insightful. So, hey, Adam, good to see you, Mr. Thayer. Glad you're here. Don Overstreet, AOL, you've got mail. Exactly. Ginny, you're from South Bend, Indiana. Okay, I got it. The Kites are listening in from Georgia. Good to see you. And Diego, rip to askjeeves.com in 2005. Okay, I'm old. All right, I get it. Mention the podcast title again. Absolutely. It is Faith and Family. You can Google Faith and Family Film and then my name, Beverly Holloway, and it'll come up, but it's Faith and Family Filmmakers. And that's the podcast website right there that you can check out. And there's great interviews. A lot of other people before me have had really good episodes. So yeah, lots to learn from. And there you go, FAFFpodcast.com. I just realized that my camera there isn't, oh well, that's the least of my concerns. So you guys, I'm officially a week and a half away from getting married. So as you can imagine, my wedding to-do list, my brain guest list, brains lists are kind of crazy. So I told Diego, oh, thank you. The ring is very personal. So all of the stones on the top are of my ring. All of the stones on the top are from either his mom or my mom and dad. They're stones that we had that we put together to create the ring. And then the sides of I'll show you the sides. If you can see, there's a little bit of it's hard to see because it doesn't want to focus, but there's a little bit of vine, and you really can't tell, but there's a little bit of, there we go, some leaf and vine. That's because he and I have a love of nature. We just absolutely love nature. And we're the people that'll stop on a ride and say, look at that cloud. It's so beautiful. And then the blue stones, this little sapphires, are for our love of water. We love being in or around. Let's see if I can get it to focus. Hello, focus on me. You want to focus on me? You guys, I'm in such a weird mood. Uh, I'll just stay out of focus. I look younger that way. Anyway, we love so my groom to be, Ben, is an avid fly fisherman, has been for 38 years. I think he has told me 38 years. And so we just love being in, around, on water. So the little blue sapphires are for our love of water. And he also has some blue sapphires that will be in his ring as well. So it's everything about our rings are very meaningful to us and very personal, and I cherish them. So anyway, thank you for pointing that out and for celebrating with me. Jenny, he is very supportive of my work, but we couldn't be more different. So I'm marrying a man who has antenna for TV, very few channels. And the shows he remembers most are like all the Gunsmoke, Wagon Trail, old Westerns. And he watches some YouTube videos, but he's marrying, of course, me, who has every streaming service possible, all the HBO, Showtime, the 400 channels of satellite TV. So it's just quite humorous how God put us together, but we feel so absolutely well matched. And I think it's kind of yin and yang. We really complement each other. I support him and love our differences and love what he has to teach me and show me, and what I can learn from him. And I think the same. So yeah, he's been very, very supportive of my work. He's semi-retired. I am not yet. So I still have many good years in. So I'll be working for a little bit, and he's way supportive of that. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun to share my world with him, and then vice versa. I'm enjoying learning from his world as well. So, yeah, it's really great. God knows better than we do what we need. That's for darn sure. Because on paper, you would never really put us together, but it's been an incredible match from the beginning, and we're really we just both really have such a confidence that this was something God did, because neither of us were looking. Neither of us, we weren't needing someone to complete our life. We weren't looking for someone. We weren't looking for a spouse. In fact, neither of us thought we would ever get married again. So it just, God knows better than we do what we need. And so, yeah, I'm incredibly thankful to him. And so, yeah, Diego says nowhere near retiring. Right. My checkbook says I'm nowhere near retiring, but so does my heart and my soul and my mind and life. And so far, God has determined I'm nowhere near retiring. So as long as he keeps opening the doors, I'll keep walking through them and do the work the best I can. So, yeah, Ginny, it sounds like what you went through. So you can relate. You can relate being in that place. Hi, Mr. Gunderson. Thank you for for your love and excitement. So my fiance, my husband to be, so crazy saying that. So he was in marketing and advertising and graphic design for years, and he's actually a very, very talented artist, painter, um, pencil sketches, watercolor, actually all mediums of artwork. And then did graphic design and marketing for several companies here. But he was born and raised and lived his whole life in the Boise area. And so he knows Idaho like the back of his hand because he's fished all the rivers and hiked all the mountains and the creeks and all of that. And he was an avid hunter for a long time, not as much anymore, but still avid fly fisherman. So if any of you guys, want to take a trip up to Idaho and learn from the best, then I'll hook you up with my soon-to-be husband and go for a little fly fishing trip. So there you go, Chad. Yes, you come here or we'll go there and we'll do a little hunting together. That'll be great. So again, you're talking to a city girl who grew up in Southern California and lived my whole life there until just like 5 years ago when I happened to move to Idaho to be near family, be near my sister. So you're talking to a city girl, and I am marrying a country boy, and it's fantastic though. It's so fun. So yeah, it's like I said, God knows better than we do, and it's really great. It's really great. And we're having quite a traditionally unconventional wedding. Does that make sense? There's some parts of it that are very traditional. In fact, both he and I, parts of us are very traditional, but then there's other parts that we're like, just do our own thing. So we are getting married on a Sunday night in a saloon in Eagle, Idaho, that's owned by Christians. So there you go. My husband and his best friend built a 7-foot cross that we're going to put in the corner of the saloon. And yeah, it'll be quite a trip. I'll show you guys pictures after we get them back and stuff. It'll be quite a trip. Jared, you're waiting for your country girl too. There you go. There's some good country girls out there, I'm sure. It's I didn't know I was looking for a country boy, but I'm glad I have a country boy. He's a good man, good man. So, and so yeah, I'll share pictures with you guys and maybe a few clips once I recover and we both breathe and get through the next couple of weeks. But I didn't intend to talk this whole time about my wedding and getting married, but as you can tell, it's kind of on my brain. So I can't really help but think about it and process it. So we went and got our marriage license today. So that's why it's on my brain. Like it's official. We have the marriage license. We're ticking off all the to-do lists. So it's getting exciting. So Emily's searching for hers too. See, there you go. Right? Okay. God, when you least expect it. So Diego married me, a country small town girl. Jazz is a country, and she is a good woman. If you guys don't know Diego's wife, Jazz, she is just awesome. Don, you said a lot of people that fish seem to be closer to God, in my opinion. I will say something though, Don. There's something about, and maybe Chad Gunderson, you can relate to this too. There is something about getting out there amongst creation, amongst the fish and the animals and the mountains and the waters that God created. And you look at those things and you just cannot deny that they were created, that there is a creator and God is the creator, and these things are astounding, and that's how much he loves us. So I do think it's very restorative. I do think that God created nature to be refreshing to us and to be restorative and to remind us of who he is and how great he is. And so, yeah, I agree. I think a lot of outdoorsmen, a lot of people, outdoors people, I shouldn't say outdoorsmen exclusively, but yeah, people who appreciate and understand nature and just fish and fowl and creatures have an appreciation for God. I don't know how you can't. I don't know how you can look at all of that and not acknowledge that it is not random, that it is something that was by design and that God is the designer. I don't see how you can. So um creation, that's probably it. I can fish all day and not catch anything, yet still be content. Absolutely. And Ben, that's my fiance, says that all the time. It's not about catching the fish. It's just about the process. So, yeah. Um, Arthur, if I come to Boise, we can take in a Boise State Broncos football game. So Boise State is rising in the top 25 AP poll. They're 17. Well, they got to 15 and then they had a bye week. So now they're at 17. But yeah, they're doing good. But we have a big game against UNLV this weekend that will may affect the AP polls. But Ashton Genty, who is a running back on our team, or wide receiver, you can tell this. I used to not know much about football. I know a little more now than I used to, but he's actually high on the list for winning the Heisman Trophy. So he's pretty amazing. So yeah, Boise State is doing okay right now. Let's see. Diego says, what is fishing? You're in Tennessee now, Diego. You actually can find a place to go fishing or watch other people fish. Either way, you can enjoy it. Jenny says, can you do your career being in Idaho? So, it's interesting because I moved here because I knew God, after many years of thinking, oh yeah, we might. I moved here thinking I might have to give up the career, but I was so certain that God was saying it's time to move. It's time to move. Ultimately, I understood very quickly why I was supposed to move and why God had put me exactly where he had put me, for me to go through some things that he knew I was going to have to go through, but I wasn't yet aware of it. So he positioned me in a place of safety and security to go through what was one of the hardest things I've ever gone through, which was the dissolution of was the falling apart of my first marriage. And that was several years ago, 6 years ago now. And I didn't know it was coming. I didn't know at all what was going to happen. I moved here and literally within 3 months, my marriage was over. And had no clue. But God did. God knew I needed to be here. God knew I needed to be near family. And so he positioned me here. So I moved here so certain that God was in it, and I didn't understand the work of it all, because at that time, we hadn't gone through COVID. So it was still very much, our industry was still very much driven by being in LA. And I had an office in LA that I kept. And I still keep an office in a space that I lease in LA for that reason. But I stayed busy. And as devastating and as difficult as COVID was, and it was, I don't mean to minimize that at all, but what it did for our industry was to allow the boundaries to be broadened as far as hiring talent from places other than just the major markets. It allows us to look at talent from other places, and then it also allows us to work from other places. And then, when I need to be in LA, I go to LA and I work, and if I have to do in-person sessions or whatever I need to do. But the technology has changed so much that so many of the producers I work with don't don't live in LA. So we were doing Zoom calls and things anyway. But so far, God has continued to open those doors and allowed me to keep working. So, like I said, I'll just keep walking through them as long as they keep opening. So, oh, Tina Rich, she says, my husband said fishing is going to Red Lobster. I love that. That's so funny. Okay, Candace, I love what you're telling Diego. Diego, listen up on Candace's comment. There are more than 850 waterfalls in Tennessee. Take your beautiful wife hiking amongst the waterfalls. If you need some suggestions, Candace has got you covered. So, yes, Emily, God has guided me. He'll do the same for you. So just so you know, I'm not anything special or unique. What I do want to tell you, and the biggest thing to come out of that was an absolute understanding and realization of how much God loves me and cares for me enough to proactively get me positioned to a place where I would be safe and where I felt like I could handle that devastation. And I was near family. I had no idea. When I tell you, I had no idea it was coming. I literally had no idea. And so I wasn't looking for all of these things, knowing I was going to need a safety net and comfort and family. I didn't know I was going to need those things, but God knew I needed those things. And so what I want to tell you is God loves you that much. So when you're talking about your career and you're talking about, maybe not understanding why things are happening or not happening for you, just know that in all of it, God loves you. He has not forsaken you. He has not abandoned you. He is not a stranger to your struggle or what you're feeling or what you're questioning. And sometimes his path may seem odd or strange or counterintuitive, because it certainly did to me. But man, he absolutely knew what I needed before I did, and loved me enough to guide me there. And so I believe, I know with all of my heart, he will do the same for you. Absolutely the same for you. I'm one of you, just like you. So he loves you that much as well. So just know that. Just know that he loves you that much. So what you're going through and what you're doing is not a mystery. Not a mystery. He loves you. So, okay. So, Jenny, can we do a Tuesday talk on doing Zoom auditions? Sure. Yeah, we can make a special point to talk about that. It's interesting because, and we can talk a little bit about it now. So Zoom auditions are not, in some ways, they're not very different from regular auditions. Now Zoom auditions are regular auditions, but from the previous sort of in-person auditions, some of the challenges I recognize for you guys. Now, let me clarify, Jenny, are you talking about Zoom auditions where you're live on a Zoom versus self-tape, right? So you're talking about actually a Zoom audition where you're live online, but you are with a casting director and or director producer, whatever the case might be. And so you are getting input and you are performing live. Is that what you're speaking about, Jenny? Because they are two different things. So the self-tape process, you have a lot more flexibility there, to a lot more control over what the finished product is that we see, because you can make sure that the takes are what you want. And if you mess up or get in your head, you can stop and do as many takes as you want. I would say on those first read auditions, and this has come up a couple of times as I've talked to people, they did a self-tape, and there would be a cut in the middle of the tape, the self-tape, the audition, right before an emotional part. And it's because they were doing a take and they weren't getting, I guess, to where they thought they should be emotionally. So they cut the tape and then they cut into it and continued the scene. The problem with that is that we see that, and we know what that tells us is that you weren't getting where it is emotionally, and so you had to stop it and then get yourself sort of hyped up and worked up emotionally and then jump right back into it. And unfortunately, that's not a great thing for us. It's not that actually makes us a little less secure about your ability to perform on the day as needed, because you don't have that option. When you're filming a scene, we need to know that you can start the scene and get grounded and get connected emotionally, and that you can bring what's needed. Now, that isn't always bringing full-on tears. Sometimes it's just bringing the intensity and the sense of the moment from a really strong internal place, even if it doesn't produce tears. So if you're actually filming on the day and you're doing a scene that was written for you to get emotional and to have tears in your eyes or to cry, if you're working on the day and you're doing the scene and the tears aren't coming, don't stop yourself and don't get in your head. You got to stay connected to that internal place. Whatever you do, just make sure it's still connected, because you'll still bring an authenticity even if it isn't full on tears coming. And then you'll get a chance to do it again. And chances are, once you've kind of gone through it, then you can stop, get yourself in the place, and then do that again and build on that. That's one of those times where in between takes, you'll want to stay very focused and very centered. Try not to get yourself distracted or in a bunch of conversations around you, but to really just allow yourself to stay very, very centered. And so yeah, when you're taping a self-tape, we need to see one take all the way through. Anytime you're cutting, it just says to us, something happened and you lost your momentum or your train of thought or whatever. So unless there's some real compelling reason to cut your self-tape in the middle of the scene, I would tell you not to. Okay. Just do it over till you get a full, nice take that you feel good about, that's authentic, that's grounded. And so that part of it isn't any different than when you were doing auditions in person, right? It's sometimes you were doing an audition in person and the tears didn't come, but you didn't stop yourself and say, sorry, I'm not crying. You have to stay connected to the moment. You have to stay present in the moment, in what's happening. You need to continue to listen to what's being given you from the reader or the other person in the scene. You just have to stay present. And in the scene, in the moment, even if the tears don't come, don't break that the tears are secondary. The authenticity is what's first. So that would be the same whether you were in person or on tape. Now, as far as Zoom auditions, and by Zoom auditions, what I'm talking about is where you're over Zoom, but we're live. So we're interacting and you're doing the scene live. It's not pre-taped. So that's what I call the Zoom audition. So just for clarification, self-tape is you have control over everything. You're doing the tape on your own time in your studio and then sending it in. A Zoom audition is where we're live in the moment over Zoom or EcoCast or whatever the platform might be. So they're really a hybrid, as you can imagine. So just like when you were doing auditions in person, you have to be ready. You have to do your prep beforehand. You get your one chance, and maybe you'll get a second chance, but don't always know that, but you have to be ready. And so that's one of those times that I say, if you're in a Zoom audition and you need a moment, when we say, okay, you're ready, if you need a moment to get yourself focused, if you can tell in that, as you're getting ready to do the scene, if you can tell that you're not quite there, or you're a little distracted, or your mind isn't quite where it needs to be, as connected as it needs to be, you need to say, can I have a moment, please? And then when you're on Zoom, you can do a couple of things. You can just drop your head and go through the process, or you can say, I'm going to walk out of frame. I'll come back in just a moment. So you walk just out of frame, do your process, and then come back and say, I'm ready. And then we'll start the tape, or you can turn your back. So whichever of those three scenarios works best for you, either of them, any of those three is fine, but take the time if you need it, because you don't get another chance. And I don't want you to finish that audition and you didn't quite get there, and you didn't quite feel connected, and didn't quite feel like you were grounded internally, and say to yourself, man, I wish I'd just taken a second. Just don't do that. Take the time, and we don't mind. Now, when you say, I'm going to take, can I just have a minute? We actually don't mean like a full minute, because that's kind of a long time for us to all be sitting there. So it's really more like 20 to 30 seconds for you to get your thoughts right, get yourself centered, get your breathing right, whatever your process is for getting yourself centered. So what you want to do in your training is to develop what are those mechanisms and that process that works for you to get you into the place you need to be. So if it is a highly emotional scene where there is an expectation, or at least it's written in tears and things like that, well, then what is that mechanism that you have learned in your training that allows you to get to that place, that brings you to the precipice of that kind of emotion? Learn those things in advance. That's part of the training process. And learn basically the shortcuts. So prior to coming into the Zoom audition is when you're doing the more extensive work of prepping and your thoughts and getting yourself centered and reminding yourself, where am I? Where have I been? What's my goal in the scene? What am I looking for? What am I feeling? You're going through all of that prior to your audition. Then when you come in to the Zoom audition room, and hi, how are you? And we chat a little bit. Then you say, can I have a moment? That's when you're doing kind of a condensed version of whatever it is you need to do to get yourself right there. Okay. And that's where your training just comes in to play, because that process for everyone is a little different as far as what are those triggers for you, and what are those things for you, and the process and the mental prep that is effective for you, right? What works for you may not be the same for someone else. So you need to know yourself so well that in those 20 to 30 seconds, you can get yourself where you need to be. And so take the time to do that, and then do your read. The thing to remember when you're training and you're preparing, it's interesting because I know so many people are saying they wish they could find classes and training in person where they are. And I agree with you. There is something great about being in the room with people and working through them and kind of being a part of that community. But I will also tell you that doing a class and training via Zoom or online is actually helping you, I think, even more so for the Zoom audition process, which is where you have to communicate through a camera live with a reader who isn't in the room with you, which is exactly what you're doing when you're doing a Zoom training class, right? You're working with your scene partners aren't in the room with you. You're working with them online, and you're relating to them through the camera. And that's what you're doing when you do a Zoom audition, which is you can't walk in and out of the room. You don't have a big wide frame. You have the frame of the camera. And so you're really connecting through the eyes and through the face, and you're using that's why it's so important that you are grounded and authentic, because all you need is this. We don't need big movements. We don't need lots of big expressions. It can be so subtle how you communicate. And so I actually think some of the online class training can work beautifully for getting you comfortable and accustomed to that, because it's very camera centric, and so is the Zoom audition process. So yeah, I know I see there's a bunch of comments. I had good success with Acting Studio Chicago. Jenny, that's good. That's great. Tina Gallo, it's a close-up shot. Let's see. Yeah, Carrie, see, it's online classwork with a scene partner is probably the most similar to a Zoom audition that you can get, because you have to figure out how to relate to that scene partner through the camera, how to communicate to them what you want them to understand about you and what you want them to feel from you and to get from you. Well, that's exactly what you're doing in an audition. You're communicating to us through the lens what you want us to see, what you want us to feel and understand about the character that you're portraying and the scene that you're in. So yeah, it's I think good training in a lot of, it's good technical training in a lot of ways, but community is community, and I understand that too. Charles Babler, hi. Just wanted to pop in and say hello. Love your advice. Don't think a lot of people here don't realize how lucky we are to get this for free. Oh, you're very kind. Oh, I'm happy to do it. And I'm glad we have our Tuesdays. Go eat your birthday cake. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Charles. Happy birthday to you. Mwah. Happy birthday, Charles. You probably didn't even see that because you may have already run to go eat your birthday cake. But if you watch the playback, you'll see it. So, let's see. Cheryl, you make a good point. What brings you there can change over time, talking about the emotion. What made you cry yesterday or last year may not today. And that's true. And it is important that you are always understanding how that's changing for you, and where you are and what's going to be the best. Tina Gallo, yes, the preparation. Tina, I just recommended you again today to someone. Carrie Fabian, great point. Fighting against tears is natural. That is true. And sometimes that can be a really effective way to communicate emotion, because we don't often want to be that vulnerable with people. So we try to hold it back. Fighting for tears is completely unnatural. We don't fight to bring tears. And you're right. It's almost always seen as false. So that's for sure. Let's see. What else? Did I miss any other? Okay. Let's see. Yeah, Don, I agree with you. Any class training is probably better than no class training. I would say not probably. I would say it just is. Class training is better. Anytime that you are exercising those muscles, that you are challenging yourself. I've told many people that I would love to see them in my coaching a lot. I say, I want to see you in a class with people who are better than you. And that isn't an insult to them. They in many cases are really brilliant. They're really talented. But in some cases, or in many of those cases, they're in smaller markets. So they've ended up kind of at the top of the class that they're in. And so I would rather see them be in a Zoom environment class online with people who will challenge them and push them in new ways than for them to be in person in a class where they're sort of the top of the class and there's no one that they're chasing or being pushed by or challenged by. You get in class with the people who are going to make you better and push you and give you something to strive for. It might be comfortable to be the top of the class all the time, but it doesn't make you better. It doesn't make you a better actor. That's for sure. Jenny, what's the best way to connect with you? Bring resume demo reel to your attention. So the best way is when I have a project and you're submitting, just because then it's in the context of something that I'm working on that you might be right for. And then, I watch through things. I can go over reels and things like that. If there's something, if you want to really talk about like what's working on your reel or headshots, then of course the coaching sessions are great. If you legitimately have some things you want to talk about and go over your materials and kind of take a real close look and get honest feedback on your materials. But otherwise, I have to be honest. There's just too many actors for me to just say, hey, send me your reels and your headshots. I don't have the time to watch everybody's reels and in detail. So I typically will watch them as they're applicable to a project that I'm working on. And then of course, in the context of the coaching, I'm watching and going over them because we're talking about the materials and what changes could be made or what's working, what may be coming across differently than you thought. I had a session today with someone who it's interesting because I was telling her how her materials came across to me. And then she was explaining, and I was saying, I'd love to see you, maybe do a few shots that would bring out a different side of you, which was her shots looked very glamorous, high income, someone who was kind of from a wealthier background, very highly educated, more city kind of a person. And in reality, she said, we have horses and I'm cleaning out the stalls and, raking, working out outside all the time. And so it was interesting to her. And I just said, well, that's a case where you know who you are. So you think, well, of course I could do those roles, but I don't know that about you. All I have is the materials you put before me. So if that is an aspect of you, then show me something, show me headshots that bring in more texture or that are a more relaxed nature, a little less makeup and a casual denim shirt or hair a little mussed up. Show that in your headshot so that I can see that and say, oh, okay, that's a different side of her. But in this particular case, she didn't have anything that was in contrast to that kind of one image that I was getting of her. And so we had a good conversation about that. You know yourself so well. So it may be strange to you to think that someone would maybe put you in a more narrow kind of a box. Because you think, well, I can do all kinds of things, or I'm very outdoorsy or whatever. Her thing was, I muck the stalls and clean out the manure, but I do it with makeup and earrings on. So, that's great and that's fun. But that's just another side to her that the headshots and her materials weren't actually really showing. So that was one of those things to be able to say, okay, you know that about you, but nothing that I'm seeing tells me about you. So be mindful of that when you're looking at your headshots and it is good. I think one of the things that have been the takeaways from the coaching I've been doing is just to help the actors understand how the materials are coming across to someone who doesn't know them. And all I have to go by is the materials, your reel, your headshots. And so it's been really great to be able to talk through those things and be so specific with each actor that I've been working with. So, okay. Hi, Anne. ICVM was really great. It was great. It was great to meet you and the others we got to meet. So, let's see. Saja says, I'd love to connect to Christian casting calls more and just Christian actor circles in general. Still a newbie entering the industry. All that I'm finding thriving here in Connecticut is very secular. Keeps me a little cautious, if that makes sense. That totally makes sense. There is no, right now, there is no clear way for me to tell you, like, oh, this is where you go for Christian casting calls. This is where, this is the path. It isn't, it is mixed in with secular and mainstream and all different. It's all through typically breakdown services. So you're getting secular and you're getting Christian. The best thing is to be in community just like you are here and hear from other people what's working for them and what they're hearing about when they're getting to know the filmmakers. Follow the filmmakers that are doing the kind of work that you want to do. I wish there were a clearer, more concise set of directions I could tell you, but it just isn't that clean and simple. It just isn't that simple. So I don't have an easy path for you, but I will tell you, you're doing the right thing by being in community with people and getting feedback from them and kind of sharing with each other what's working and following those filmmakers when they talk about, hey, this film's getting ready to come out, or I'm going to be casting this film. And then the film festivals are great. So ICVM just happened. It was fantastic. It's a great festival, you guys. I would encourage you next year. It's in Orlando in the end of October. So ICVM will be in Orlando, Florida. I think it's a second or third week of October. So if you want to think about that now, I mentioned this, I think, last week or a couple weeks ago. Think ahead for those things. And maybe when people are saying, hey, what do you want for Christmas? Maybe it's them giving you a little, monetary gift that you can put towards travel to a film festival that you haven't been able to go to yet. You won't regret it. I'm just telling you, you will not regret it. The friends you will meet, the people you will meet, the information you will learn will be so valuable to you. So whether it's Christian Worldview, which will be coming up in March, or it's ICVM, which again will be in October in Florida. Christian Worldview will be in Albany, Georgia, which is outside of Atlanta, Georgia, in March. Content is always, that's in Texas at Capernaum in the fall. So maybe you make that part of your Christmas present and that helps you to start that fund, but you won't regret that. I think the camaraderie, the friendships, the knowledge, the spiritual encouragement that you would receive at any of those festivals will just really feed your heart and your mind and your soul. So maybe as we're going into Christmas, you might think about that and maybe plan ahead with something like that. So, Steve Maltempe, I've been background and want to move to speaking roles. Where can I get help to transition? Again, it's a matter of really just diving into the community, finding those filmmakers that are doing the projects. I don't know if you have an agent or what market you're in, your agent, that would make a big difference. All of you guys, I'm telling you, I would say to every one of you, are you literally waking up every day and treating your acting like your job? Okay. So that means if you've said, you know what, it's my full-time job, I'm all in 8 hours a day, every day. Okay. Well, then wake up, go to your computer and then start putting in the work. And that can be researching filmmakers. That can be looking at their work. It could be researching the actors that are working in the space. It could be listening to faith and family filmmaker podcasts. It could be reading scripts. All of that is a part of your work. It could be learning a new monologue and taping it, and self-critiquing and challenging yourself and pushing yourself. Any of those things. If you say you're a full-time actor, then be a full-time actor. Get up, do the work every single day. Don't wait for anyone to tell you it's time to work now. Get up, do it. There's so much you can learn and do and grow. And what's going to happen is you're going to start to learn more about the people who are working in the space you want to work in. You may connect with filmmakers and end up writing something of your own. Maybe you get inspired and you write a short film, and then you find some other filmmakers to do it with you, and you've created a short film. Or you work on a monologue, you self-tape it so that you can put it up on your Actors Access, so that you have something on there to show us your ability as an actor. There is no reason to not keep yourself busy. Okay. If you've decided, okay, I have a full-time job, I can devote 10 hours a week to my acting, or 12 hours or 15 or 20, whatever it is, make that decision and set that schedule and put in that time. Because if you are sitting back and waiting for people to tell you, okay, you can work now, you're going to be waiting a long time, and it just isn't going to happen. Energy begets energy and momentum. And then God, who knows how God's going to inspire you? Who knows the direction that he'll give you? But if you are already in motion, if you are already thinking and focused and driven and passionate, then you're already going the right direction. So that's what I would challenge you guys to do. There is so much out there we can learn and glean from. Challenge yourself with monologues. Do a role you've never been able to do. Do it on your own. Push yourself. Find another actor or a community of actors who will watch it and who will give you honest feedback, and then do the same for them. There is no reason that you need to just sit back and wait to be told when to be an actor. If you've decided you're a professional actor, then be a professional actor. That's what I'll say. So, and it's no different for me, by the way. So, when I told you guys this year was a weird year for me. It was not what my typical years have been in the past. And I actually ended up with a lot of downtime that I haven't had for years. And so my choice then was to sit back and then just okay, well, I guess I need to wait until somebody hires me. I guess I just need to wait till someone wants to give me a job. Well, no, I'm still watching shows. I'm still looking at who's making films. I'm still following the filmmakers and reading up on what they're doing. And I'm still reading scripts and watching content. And I'm still active on social media. And then I started the coaching process and consulting, because you just keep going, you keep moving forward, and God opens up different doors. The coaching door was a completely new door. It's something that had been on my heart for a long time. And then it just meshed with the right timing where I actually had time to do it. But you can't just sit back and say, okay, well, I'll be a casting director when someone hires me. No, I'm a casting director. That's what I do. That's my profession. I am a full-time casting director. So I'm going to be a full-time casting director, and every day of that looks differently. And so I would challenge you the same way. So, okay, Diego's probably laughing at me because so when I first got on, I was like, my brain is fried. So I don't have a whole lot to say. So I'll probably only go 15, 20 minutes. And here we are an hour into it. And now I'm getting all riled up. Oh, you guys, I just love you. You let me talk about the whole wedding stuff, get that off my brain and process. And then I got in my zone. So anyway, Jared said, just saw this on Instagram this morning, roundtablefellowship.com/casting. Great. I don't know what that is, but it sounds awesome. So great. Check out roundtablefellowship.com/casting. Great. I love you guys. I love when you share things. Nancy Sharp, I saw where you're working with a movie they're going to be filming in Oklahoma, in my hometown in Oklahoma. Christmas movie. Wish you were coming so I could meet you. Hope to get to work on it. So yeah, so Chris Freihofer is handling the Oklahoma, Texas casting on that film. I may make it out there. I don't think so, but you never know. I'll let you guys know if it looks like I might be able to make it out for a day or two, but that'll be right leading up into Christmas. So I'm not sure, but yeah, I'll let you know, Nancy, if it looks like I might make it there. So let's see. Sad just says, I'm sorry, but that was such a powerful statement you just said. Confirmation so much. Well, I'm glad because I love you guys. I want you to be successful. And I also want you to know there's so much more you can be doing for yourself. And I just think you'll feel better too. You'll feel invigorated. You'll feel like you're challenging yourself and you're pushing yourself. And you'll feel like you're creating and building and that you're being a vessel that God can use, because you're not sitting back in sort of a woe is me, I'm not getting anything. It can just breed sort of a sadness or a negativity. And I think sometimes Satan can get a real foothold there and do destructive work. And I want to see you in a place of living who you're created to be. And again, God loves you. So if you're in the right place, then he's going to open the doors. And if for some reason he has a different path for you, then if you're willing to follow that and to listen for that, then he'll lead you there too. He loves you that much. So, yeah. I just want you guys to understand you have so much more control and not control, that's the wrong word. You have so much more power and initiative and forward positive things that you can bring into your work. And you can be that for others too, right? Be that person that's willing to watch someone else's reel or scene and give them honest feedback, or you guys trade off being readers and, whatever that looks like. So, yes, Diego says, keep showing up. Absolutely. Let's see. So it has been an hour. Jared, Roundtable Fellowships is Nato Jacobson. Yes, there you go. He's had things he's casting. He's casting something. There are some roles in there. I just saw that he posted that today on socials. So yes, look that up. Nato Jacobson. I saw his casting post. So make sure to check that out. And Jared, I love you for sharing that and for reminding us. That's exactly what I hope for out of our community here. Carrie Fabian, I'm going to answer your question really quickly. Question on the headshots. Last week you were talking about how tight the crop should be. How does that affect women I don't need to see how long your hair is. I don't need to see how long your hair is. If it matters for the role, then we'll ask, but I don't need to see the ends of your hair. I need to see this. So if you want to, in your myriad of shots, have one shot where it's a little more pulled back and it shows the length of your hair, but no, I don't anytime I see a photo and it's cropped and I'm not seeing the ends of the hair, I just assume it's longer, right? And unless there's very rarely is there something so specific about the length of the hair that I need to know exactly where it stops. Um, so yes, this is far more important than seeing the length of your hair. Okay, I'm going to sign off for now. And if I'm being real, I I don't know about next week. So we'll see. We'll see if my brain's functioning or if I need to just be all in on my focus elsewhere, but we'll let you know either way. So just wanted to let you know that. I love and appreciate you guys. Thank you for letting me chat on about the whole wedding stuff in the beginning. It's very exciting. I love sharing it with you, and I love that you're excited for me. You guys are just saying such nice. Oh, Diego's telling. Diego knows me so well. Next week is canceled. Thank you, Diego. Actually, that you did me a favor because yeah, I think my brain will be kind of maxed out next week. So I won't see you next week, but I'll come back after that with all sorts of tales. And I'll try to give you some a few pictures of things I can share. But thanks for being excited with me and for celebrating with me, and just for being a part of our little Let's Talk Tuesday family. I really do. You guys encourage me. You just are just the most wonderful people, the way you treat each other and encourage each other, the way you encourage me. So you are just a joy. And so, yeah, I'm going to go off and get married, and I will see you then in 2 weeks when I am then Mrs. Shuey. I'm marrying Ben Shuey, so I will be Mrs. Beverly Holloway Shuey. I'm keeping the Beverly Holloway because obviously business-wise, that's my brand. That's what I'm known as, but personally, I will be Mrs. Benjamin Shuey. So anyway, that's it. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Love you so much, and have a great week. God loves you. Bye.